The PlayStation 4 has been out for quite a while at this point, and it has amassed such a quality lineup of just exclusives. And if you picked up your PlayStation 4 more recently, you might have missed out on a lot of these exclusives. So in this video, I want to take a look at 5 PlayStation 4 exclusives that are super cheap and essential for any library. Now, one of these games is actually more of a recent release, but it falls into that super cheap category, so I thought I'd mention it anyway. There's honestly a lot more than 5 games, but we'll probably make this a continuous series. We did one for open world games last month, so if you've yet to check that video out, make sure you do so as well. And if you want us to cover any other genres or just do more videos like this looking at very cheap games that are regularly available at very low prices, let us know in the comment section down below and we'll get to that as soon as possible. Without further ado, let's get right into this. First up, we have Ratchet and Clank, and Ratchet and Clank is actually one of those games that just hit the PlayStation Greatest Hits lineup of games. A lot of games have been reduced at all times. Now they're always going to be available for $19.99. Now, paying $19.99 for Ratchet and Clank is already a good deal, but I wouldn't even pay that much for this game as it's regularly available even cheaper than that. Hell, this has been a PlayStation Plus game in the past, so some of you guys got it for absolutely nothing. But typically during a PlayStation Store sale, expect to see this game around that $9.99 price point. And at that price, Ratchet & Clank is fantastic, and in stores I've seen it as low as $9.99 as well. This game itself isn't a brand new Ratchet & Clank game, rather it's a remake of the very first Ratchet game, but it's not just a typical remaster or anything like that. We already saw that with the Ratchet collection back on the PlayStation 3. This is a ground-up rebuilding of the very first Ratchet & Clank game on the PlayStation 4, and that is evident very quickly. When you see how this game looks, when you see all of the particle effects, it is very clear that this is a PlayStation 4 game, but what's retained is the excellent platforming, great gameplay, and witty humor. So whether you've been a long-time fan of Ratchet or you're a newcomer to the series, this is a great pickup.
Hello, stinky aliens. Mr. Zircon will punch you in the face with bullets.
Next up, we have a game that I wasn't as big of a fan of as some people, but it's still a very good title and I can see that, and that is Until Dawn by Supermassive Games. Now, Until Dawn was one of the very early PlayStation 4 titles. It was released back in 2014, so this was in a time where we didn't have that huge lineup of PS4 exclusives and that high quality standard that some of the other PS4 exclusives had built. That wasn't set at this point, so a lot of gamers could just see Until Dawn as a very charming game that was an ode to old horror movies. Now, the one major complaint about the game was that maybe it wasn't worth the $59.99 price point, and I could definitely see that. The game isn't all too long, but now you can get all of the charm for around $20 regularly, and on sale on the PlayStation Store, I usually see this game for around $7.99, around that price point. And at that price, I would say that Until Dawn is an absolute bargain if you're into more interactive storytelling games such as a Heavy Rain or those Quantic Dreams-like game. Until Dawn is going to be right up your alley if you're into that.
Your fate. And the fate of those around you.
Oh my God, what the hell was that? We need to go get help now.
Could you live with the consequences?
Next up, we have another game that I was a little bit disappointed by, but I still really enjoyed, and that's Infamous Second Son. Now, don't get me wrong, Infamous Second Son is a great game. Sucker Punch did a good job with it, but it's just that the standard had been set so high with the other two Infamous titles, the games released on the PlayStation 3. Infamous 1 and 2 were just excellent games, and I wouldn't say Infamous Second Son is as good of a game as those two. What it does have going for it over those two, of course, it's a PlayStation 4 game opposed to a PS3 game. The world is a lot more vibrant. Visually, this game is incredible to look at, and if you're on a PlayStation 4 Pro, it's gonna look even better. And with it even being an early PS4 title, it still holds up with the best of them. The only issue is the game is rather short. It kind of ends abruptly, and some of the side content in the game isn't as engaging as I found the Infamous 1 side content. Still, Infamous Second Son is a great game, and if you want a good open world game that really empowers the player, Infamous Second Son is a good buy. I had a lot of fun with it, and there is reason to play through the game twice, as there is the good route and you can go the evil route as well.
All right, I got this whole thing figured out. We hit the town, we maybe swing by the Space Needle, always wanted to see it, and then we're back home to save some lives.
You do realize when we hit the town, there's a fair chance the town's gonna, you know, head back?
Next up, this is gonna be a game for those of you that picked up a PlayStation 4 this generation, but maybe last generation you were an Xbox guy and you missed out on the Uncharted games. Well, you gotta give Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection a look. I know so many people that have moved on from the 360 to the PlayStation 4, and the Uncharted series has just completely passed them by. Maybe they gave Uncharted 4 a look and they were blown away by that game. And don't get me wrong, Uncharted 4 is a masterful game, but the first 3 Uncharted games are really good as well. And with the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, you can get all 3 of those games in one collection with better visuals and technical performance. Typically, I'll see this for $9.99 on the PlayStation Store on sale. It's regularly available at $19.99, but if you buy it on sale, you're getting each game for about $3 and change a pop. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I've always made it very clear that Uncharted 1 has not aged as well as the other 2 games. Uncharted 1 is a little bit clunky. Some of the mechanics aren't all too great, but considering it is an 11-year-old game, I'll let that slide. Uncharted 2 and 3, however, still fantastic games, and some of the set pieces in those games are still jaw-dropping to this day. Uncharted 2 released all the way back in 2009. It has been almost a decade since it's released, and it hangs in there with the best action-oriented experiences that I've ever played, even to this day. Again, if you've yet to play the first 3 Uncharted games, Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection has to be in your collection because the games are fantastic.
Nathan, these guys are playing for keeps, yeah? So?
He would go to the ends of the earth for you, Nate.
Now what do? We jump?
Just don't ask him to.
Shall we?
You get over on all this. Cheating death.
But that's not how it will end. This is how it will end.
Sorry. Sully! We don't get to choose how we start in this life.
Had to try.
Real greatness. It's what you do with the hand you're dealt.
And finally, I do want to give a mention to a more recent PlayStation 4 exclusive, as it's gotten discounted so quickly, and that is Horizon Zero Dawn. This game is literally already available for $9.99. How insane is that? And it's not like Horizon Zero Dawn is a bad game. It's not like this game didn't do well from a commercial standpoint. It did all of that. For whatever reason, Sony has just slashed the price of this game down very quickly. $9.99 for the base game. However, Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition, which also includes the Frozen Wilds expansion, is regularly available for $19.99. I would give that a look as well because the expansion is rather good, adds about 12 to 15 hours of content to an already pretty expansive base game experience. Horizon Zero Dawn is fantastic. There were a few issues here and there as this was Guerrilla's first game in this franchise, but they set a phenomenal foundation to what I am sure is going to be one of the PlayStation staple franchises going into next generation as well. For now, if you've yet to check out Horizon Zero Dawn, I personally would give a look at the complete edition, $19.99 for the game and the expansion. That's a bargain. So that is going to conclude this video. All of those 5 games are great. All of those 5 games are available very cheap. Some of those games right now might be at $19.99, but hold off for a little bit, be a little bit thrifty, and I'm sure you can pick up a game like Ratchet and Clank very cheap. You can pick up Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection very cheap. You can pick up Infamous Second Son very cheap. Until Dawn, you can get it for very cheap with Horizon. Honestly, $19.99 for that game, the complete edition, that's already pretty insane. And if you have no interest in the expansion, $9.99 for the base game, I mean, that's just insane. That's gonna wrap this one up. Sound off in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.